young guns are blazing, and the return of the enforcer.
Let's burn through that.
Hi, my name's Nick.
And I'm Dax, and welcome to the Coal Room.
Our weekly rugby union chat show. A lot's happened since we were last on air. The Springbok squad was announced, as well as some interesting developments locally within the unions, preparing for next year's Super Rugby season.
As always, Western Province Rugby in the doldrums.
That's
with bankruptcy, and they have lost Thor, Dwayne Vermeulen.
Before we get to that, let's just stay with Western Province and talk about how they have announced the immediate release of 19 players that they are putting up for sale, essentially. Their reports are that they circulated a list of 19 players to all the other unions in the country saying, please sign these players from us.
Skyrin Tabeni, Chris Van Zyl, and Dan Kriel are going to be looking for homes after the Currie Cup campaigns. I mean, those are three really top tier.
Those are three starting players within the Currie Cup.
And I mean, Chris Van Zyl captained the Western Province Rugby team to the Currie Cup victory last year.
Yeah, so that really just says how desperate the Western Province Rugby Union is right now. And if you consider the impact that has in Super Rugby, they've taken away one of their star hookers.
Yeah, they have. But unfortunately, he's been out for most of the season with injury as well. So you have to weigh that into it as well.
And I guess this feeds into the big debate for the last month is where's Dwayne going to ply his trade? He had offers from the Lions, which they quickly terminated negotiations, and then offers from the Bulls came in, and the Stormers were suddenly like, please come back home.
And then Bath in England as well.
And so there was all this debate, and there was him saying last year even that he wants to come back home to South Africa, but home for him is the Cape. So immediately that put Western
Province. Free State. He's from Free State. So
I mean, how long was he in the Cape for?
Well, he played for the Stormers for a good 3-4 years.
So that kind of put the Stormers ahead. But given their financial issues, he went to the Bulls. I think that was the main reason. The Bulls gave him a contract that he couldn't refuse.
It was a dual contract because you also had to sign with SA Rugby for on top of that as well. So it's good for SA Rugby because we do need him for the World Cup, and the Bulls need that experience too, which will be good for them considering the fact that Johnny Mitchell is going to England as their defence coach.
That's the other development is the Bulls again are without a coach.
Oh, man. But there's some good caliber coaches that they're looking to sign up. John Dobson, Western Province's current Currie Cup head coach. I mean, that'll be good. That'll be a good one considering he has won the Currie Cup. He's taken Province to the final on a good few occasions.
And then you got Jimmy Stonehouse, the director of rugby at the Pumas. Now, if you look, he did go over to Japan for a little bit. He was back. And look what he did with the Pumas. He took them from being absolute whipping boys in the Currie Cup to actually contending semi-finals on a fairly regular basis. And this is coming from the smaller unions, which is really good. And if he is given the job, he should bring in really good structures. And then you got more fringe kind of picks with Victor Matfield's name being thrown into the mix, as well as Farid Aprea. Now, Victor Matfield has got some assistant coaching experience, having been the forwards coach for the Bulls and the Lions. But I would say he's not ready for a head coach role. I would like maybe Stonehouse to come in as head coach, and then have Matfield come in as the attack coach, forwards coach again, as a kind of like a blooding process. The long-term plan was, even when Nollis Murray and Frans Ludeke were still coaches, that Matfield will get blooded in the long term.
I mean, Matfield's got a good rugby brain. I mean, Farid Aprea also has
a fantastic rugby
brain.
But he doesn't have the coaching experience.
I mean, maybe get him into a union or something. Maybe like the Blue Bulls, which is the Currie Cup Bulls squad, and blood him in that way. But I mean, it's interesting times. I mean, now's the time to do changes because everybody wants to prepare for next year's Super Rugby.
And just speaking of changes, we can talk about the Springbok squad. So we have 4 uncapped players in the Rugby Championship squad. Now remember, Dwayne Vermeulen isn't available, as well as there's a couple of other...
Fakta Klek and Willie Leroux aren't available for the full Rugby Championship.
because it falls outside of the World Rugby Test window, and therefore clubs are not required to release them.
Correct.
So if we're looking at the forwards, so we have 20 forwards within the squad of 35. So starting off, this is obviously alphabetically, and they'll come up in a list. But we'll have Carl Brink from the Lions. He's a debutant if he makes the field.
Yeah, and he's a burly number 7 flanker. Really, really good powerhouse. Good with ball in hand, drives it up. I'm really excited to see him.
I'm really glad that Jean-Luc Dupré is still in the squad. He's a fantastic player. I was a bit disappointed his brother wasn't included, because I felt like we needed some 8th man depth in the squad, which we don't have, given Dwayne's not available. Thomas du Toit, the tank.
Yep.
Thomas the tank engine.
Definitely earns his place again.
Yeah. Peter Steph du Toit.
Definitely.
Yeah. Eben Etzbeth, now this is the return of the enforcer. He has not played a single game of rugby the entire year.
Since November last year.
And while we could argue that, it's Eben, he's come back from long injury layoffs, straight into the Springbok setup, and he's been the standout player again and again. This is worrying still. Match fitness, one. Game fitness is another mentality.
I think if he does play in the squad this weekend, he's not going to start. I think he's going to come off the bench, get a good 20-30 minutes in. I mean, Rassie has said that his conditioning and his fitness is up there with the rest of the guys.
Because he's been keeping up with that conditioning. It's just more the contact that I'm concerned about. But moving on, Stephen Kitsoff, solid. Very good tight head. He's going to take over from Beast when he finally retires.
As
Khaleesi as captain again. We don't want to mess with the winning formula, so
nope.
Francois Lowe is making a return from Bath.
Correct. We need that flanker, and he has been coming in as the number 8 option for Warren Whiteley.
Yeah, and it's also some good experience in the squad, considering we have very inexperienced loose forwards.
Correct.
Then we have Wilco Lowe from the Stormers, again, solid
tight head prop.
And this one I'm not too sure about, Frans Malherbe.
Well, I think we need that tight head depth, unfortunately. And he's definitely going to be that fringe prop that they're going to... I mean, look, Rusty said he's going to create depth. And if France gets some game time and plays off the bench and that type of thing, I wouldn't start him.
No.
But, Frans Malherbe, we have to have tight head depth. I mean, because if Thomas goes down or Wilco Lowe goes down, who do you take after? Who do you get in after France?
Then I'm really glad that Malcolm Marx is in the squad. He was injured for a good spell, but he had a good comeback in the final rounds of Super Rugby.
One of our standout players in last year's Rugby Championship, and the guy's a bruiser. I mean, his class is unparalleled in terms of...
He's arguably the best hooker in the world.
He is.
Behind Dane Coles maybe.
Well, they're two different players, but I think head to head, it just depends on who's backing them. And I mean, Marks and Coles faced up against in the Crusaders Lions game.
No, Coles plays for the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes. No, they have faced off before, and they've kind of evened each other out.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need that against the All Blacks this year.
Then we have Bongi Mbonambi, solid
number 2, and definitely
solid number 2 too.
Number 2. I mean, the games that he played when Marks was injured were fantastic.
Yes,
I mean,
he was a good player.
He's got the energy. He does get hands on the ball. I mean, he's a different player to Marks, but I mean, he's definitely deserved to be in there.
Franco Mostert, solid.
Yeah, you can't.
Beast Torreira, we can't knock him off the ledge just yet. Sikumbuzo Noche.
Yep.
Good. Yeah.
Flank and the 8th man cover as well.
Marvin Ori, this is an interesting one.
Well, he has shown some good form for the Lions, and he's good, and we've got that lock depth now. I mean, we'll probably see Peter Steph du Toit switch to flank on occasion. He'll be a lock. I mean, preferably I would like to see, while Eben, now that we got a lot more flanks and 8 men, Peter Steph to go back to the lock position.
But it seems like Rassie likes him in flank.
Yeah, and he's a bruiser. He's very good at it. I mean, he's very mobile.
We have Arceus Neyman.
Definitely deserved. He had a good June test window.
Akke van der Merwe.
Well, he's the Warthog. The Warthog, number 3, number 2.
Ooh, I don't know, eh? Definitely all 3 hookers have different game plans or different game plays, so I don't know how I'd rank them. I think I'd have definitely Mark starting.
Yeah.
And then it depends what I want from my bench hooker.
Correct.
Do I want Mr. Dependable, accurate line out throwing, just will do the job of a hooker in Mbonambi? Or do I want someone who's going to run all over the place?
Like Aka van der Merwe. I mean, it's going to be brilliant to see how Rassie brings all three hookers into the game.
Then we have Marco van Staden, another flank from the Bulls.
Yep.
And then finally Warren Whiteley is back in the Springbok setup from the Lions.
I mean, a funny fact, Marco van Staden was the guy that Rassie originally wanted to start on the flank with Sia and Dwayne Mullen in the back.
But he was injured,
yeah.
Then we have 15 backs. Starting with Lucanio solid.
Definitely worth his place.
This one, Ross Kinnear.
We need scrum of depth, and if Faf is going to disappear halfway through the Rugby Championship, we need someone there who's a little bit, of a
scrum off is an issue that we've had. So, we've got to just sort that out in general. Faf de Klerk, as you were saying, Apue Jante.
Yep.
But he might be slightly hamstring. He tweaked his hamstring in the final, so it could be a bit of a dicey one there.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if he's fit, but I mean, there are other wings that are going to come up, but I would love Deontay to be fit for the Australia-New Zealand days.
Yeah. Andre Esterhuizen, centre.
Yeah, he has to be there because we have no Damien Dialendi.
Elton Yankees.
Yeah, that's the one that we weren't too positive about.
Third choice fly half.
Fifth choice fly half who's just happens to just be there.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
Jesse Creel.
Yeah.
Mr. Utility Dependable, I think. Willie LaRue, as I was saying to you when he was first part of the June Test squad, I was like, oh no, not Willie. And then he started and I was like, oh my gosh, changed my life. My opinion of him completely shaped.
He's a little bit smart. He's a little bit more game smart than what he was.
Yeah.
I think time in England has done his game wonders, and he just needs to be that Mr. Reliable, Mr. Dependable. Choose those moments like he did in June where you come up to the line, create that space and that type of thing. It'll be awesome to see him do that in the Rugby Championship. He must just keep his head. That's my biggest thing with Billy.
Yeah. Then we have Makazole Mpimpi. Solid. He's had a good season.
Yeah.
Lionel Mapo. I've never rated him. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest.
I haven't rated him as an outside centre. He has a lot of handling errors.
Alton. In a Lions jersey. Great. Put him in a green jersey, he fucks up every time.
Even with the Lions recently, his handling error count is actually quite high. But I mean, Rassie's supposed to turn franchise players into test players, so let's see what happens.
Then we have Luwazo Mvovo. I thought he was a bit long in the tooth to be in the Springbok squad, but
it's also the experience that we need. I mean, and we need cover on the right wing, and he's perfect for that. And he can also switch to fullback. That's
very true. Then we've got a nice three Bulls in Ambrose Papier, Andre Pollard, and Ivan van Zyl. There's some established combinations. Established combinations there. With Pollard, you might even see that, given in the test that Faf can't start, you might find that the Bulls combination will be the best route forward, given that they know each other so well.
It's possible, yes. And it'll be nice to get those players some game time. I mean, they are a little bit on the smaller side, but look at Faf. I mean, they
look at Furry.
Well, they front up physicality-wise. It'll be, I mean, for me, the biggest thing for me is Van Zyl and Papier actually need to work on their fronting up defensively. That's my biggest issue with the scrum off. It's no good that they got a crisp pass or great box kick. The other important thing is they have to front up defensively. Faf does that for his little size. He really punches above his weight.
But then
our scrum need to do that.
Faf's downside is his box kicking isn't accurate at most times, and his passing can sometimes be a bit slow.
Well, it depends on a lot of things, but Faf was one of the stand-up players in the June Test.
True.
And he has also, like Billy, benefited from the English rugby leagues up north. Another one that for some strange reason we didn't get to is...
No, we just, the last one, Damien Willemse.
Damien Willemse?
Yeah, he's last on the list, I just hadn't read him yet.
Ah.
Jeez.
So this was this is the big one for me.
We'll take it away.
Because he's been a fantastic young fly half for the Stormers, and last year's Currie Cup, he showed that he can play.
I think let's first, for those who don't know him, let's paint a picture of how he got his first starting, and that the Stormers had 4 injured fly halves.
Correct. So 19-year-old coming up has to come in.
No choice with 4 injured fly halves.
Yeah.
So it's got to step up.
And he held his own. I mean, for a 19-year-old Super Rugby, it's a big achievement.
Yeah.
Regardless of, I mean, in New Zealand they have 19-year-olds who come through and all that type of thing. For us, it's hardly ever heard of unless you ever it's a bit.
Or Andre Pollard.
So Damien Willemse, following the footsteps of probably Andre Pollard.
Yeah.
Also big physical fly half like Andre Pollard. Good kicking game as well.
Yes.
Also good in the defensive channel. Good backup. For me, he's probably the better choice than Alton Jantjies as a backup fly half. But rumour has it he's going to start at
fullback.
Well, he'll get his start at fullback, but as cover for Willie LaRue off the bench.
Yeah, but then again, it's also smart of Rassie because, as we were saying in the last video, he doesn't want to replace fly halves during the game unless there is an injury. If he has Willemse on the bench covering as fullback, in the event of Pollard getting injured,
then he can
slot in, which is very clever. And you know what, he might actually get a start at fly half later on in the tournament.
Correct, especially when there's also considerations that Pollard could actually move a position over to the inside centre role if Andreas Dazen's not showing his worth.
Yeah.
Damien Delendi is actually, even though he wasn't announced in the squad, they have said if he's fit, he'll come into the squad.
Yep.
So it depends on how Rassie builds his combinations, how he brings players in. The biggest one for us, or the biggest two for us, would be how he gets Eben back into the game.
Yeah.
And then how he'll fit Damien Willemse into the matchday squad so he can be blooded in for the World Cup next year. I think one more thing that I had on the tip of my tongue now. So the other big thing was our flanks and the 8th man situation on how
we have a lot of flanks, very few 8 men.
So for me, the perfect start is I'd actually go with what Rassie originally would have done, bar Dwayne Vermeulen, who's now not part of the plans. For me, Marco van Staden, Sia Khaleesi as your flanks. I mean, Marco van Staden was the first choice pulverer before he got that untimely injury. Sia Khaleesi, captain, you can't leave him out of the squad. I mean, the shift to number 7 he can do. I mean, he's not meant to be a big bruising ball carrier. Yeah. But I mean, he can do the switch. Marco van Staden, guy slows the ball down, and then we have Warren Whiteley in the back to add that mobility to it.
Probably find that is what's going to happen. If not, Van Staden might be on the bench. You might see Peter Steff starting at number 7.
Correct. Or Francois Lowe.
One of those
number 6 as well. Yeah.
Again, I think Rassie has got an issue with the Lucies because reading that squad list, I was just reminded again how many flanks are in that squad.
Yeah,
and also we need 2 specialist 8th men.
I mean, you must also remember the lock stocks. We've got Peter Steff-Tutoy, we've got Archie Snyman, we've got
Eben and Marvin.
We've got Eben and Marvin and Franco Mostert.
5 locks, yeah.
So I mean, the depth is there, thank goodness, and I mean, it's fantastic. So we're going to have that continuity, but it'll be just interesting how you kind of balance that out. Because Marvin Ori must still get a game, come into the game. Even Etzebeth must get game time. Props wise and hooker wise, I think we've got a good balance, and that's great. The backs, I think we've got a good balance. The only one for me, or the one real iffy player for me, is Alton.
But we can safely say he's the choice fly half, and he's only really there because he's got Springbok Test experience and a lot of Super Rugby experience. So in the event that there is an injury to both Willemse and Pollard, he can at least step up, and it's not like a what do we do now situation.
Yeah. My biggest problem with Alton, and it comes from watching a lot of gameplay recently, is he sits too deep in the pocket. You know, he sits and waits in the pocket. when I did school rugby, we were always told start 5 meters back and start run, and then run and get the ball and stuff. Yes, you have teams that have the rush defense and all that type of thing. You can start a little bit deeper, but you have to get momentum. And for a fly half, it's important to go forward and pass the ball. I mean, if you're going to sit in the pocket, the guys are going to spot that you're going to kick or you're going to do the dab over the top. I mean, if you look at Andre, he takes it up to the line. Yep. He wants to hit the line at pace.
And there's not that much size difference between the two, so it's not like you can argue that Alton's a smaller fly half and that's why he doesn't want to run it up.
Defensively, Alton is a bit iffy.
Defensively, he's not more than iffy, he's useless. Which is why I'm wondering why he's in the squad. I mean, he's really got very few redeeming factors, especially when he went back into Super Rugby and everyone's like, okay, he's back into the Lions jersey, he's going to perform again, and he didn't perform.
He had one good game. Good-ish game, and that was against the Jaguares. But that's not. I mean, look, the Jaguares were a better team in the second half of the Super Rugby campaign. Let's face the facts. But I mean, that's not a yardstick that you want to measure yourself against. I mean, the Crusaders game was that test before the Springboks announcement, and he failed. To me, he failed. He didn't control the back line at all. He got run over in defence on more than one occasion. He's like the Raymond Rule of fly-halves. I mean, the Raymond Rule's biggest problem is he doesn't plant his feet when he tackles. Alton Jantjies has the same
style tackle.
Correct.
Where you go up to the arms and you just get spun.
Exactly. So, but anyway, we're
boring people.
Boring people. So we play against the Argentines this weekend.
Yes, the Pumas.
The Pumas and
in
Durban. So I mean the Jaguares made Durban their home in the last bits of the Super Rugby campaign.
Yeah, I've got to say it's going to be an interesting match because it used to be that Springboks Argentina, so how much are Springboks going to win by?
This is going to be a test.
Yeah, if they keep the same discipline and mentality that they had at the Jaguares.
And don't forget, the first time the Argentines beat us on home soil was at Durban.
Yes, and the Jaguares coach is now the Argentinian coach. So if he brings that same discipline through, it's going to be a tough game, and we might see some good old-fashioned test rugby where it's hard hits, and I think it's a real good game. I'm excited. I keep reminding myself this Springbok rugby coming, Springbok rugby.
Yeah. So our heart is on our sleeves. I think we're going to go on pride here, and we're going to say South Africa going to pull the win.
Yes, and then of course New Zealand are going to beat Australia.
Yeah, New Zealand playing away.
It doesn't really matter. New Zealand are going to win.
I think New Zealand is going to win this one. Australia didn't have much of a really good series against the Irish, so.
And also, just their Super Rugby performance wasn't that great. So
correct, one team that made it to the.
Although I have to give it to Australians, the Australia team is that when they come together, they seem to play a lot better than the separate franchises do. So I mean, in that sense, you'd expect that because you're getting the best players, but they're a lot more cohesive.
Yeah. And Michael Hooper's fit for the first test. So.
But yeah, anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment your thoughts and opinions on what we've just said, even if you think we're wrong, because we're not perfect.
No, we're not. And hit the bell icon so we can notify you when our videos go up.
Yeah, so enjoy the rugby. Cheers.
Cheerio.